It's good that you're here. Thank you so much.
Hi,
There she
Cynthia.
is. There, I see you.
Oh, you can
Hi.
see me now?
I can see
Yes,
you
we can
now.
see you.
Yes. I just wanted to, first of all, welcome Michelle. This is her first meeting of our group. And Michelle and I are colleagues. We've been working together now for 3 years, I think. And it's been really rewarding for me professionally because Michelle, when she first started, we started, I think, around the same time in Allegan, but one of the things I noticed about Michelle is that, hey, she really knows how to work with this special population of students. She's very creative in her approaches and working with them and just really making sure that learning is taking place. And I know that Michelle's responsibilities have increased, but Michelle, I'm going to let you tell them all about that, okay? Since you can do it a lot better than I can. But we are going to be recording, and I appreciate you allowing us to record this presentation because then both of our classes will have access to your content.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah, I'm glad. I hope that all works out. And I'm hoping the slides will work out later because I was able to get permission from a lot of my students' families so that I could share some pictures of the students at our school doing what they do. So if you're unfamiliar with a center-based program, which is what I'm here to talk about today, I've been teaching for 23 years. Most of that time has been in a center-based school. Every county has one. So Allegan County, we have ours, it's called Hillside. There's Ottawa County, and they have Ottawa Area Center. Grand Rapids Public Schools has Lincoln, and Pine Grove. I think they opened another one too because they had so many students, and coming from Kent County's huge. So they had a lot of kids on the bus a long time. So I'm pretty sure they opened up another facility. So our school includes 8 different school districts. So we are getting kids from our whole county. We're getting the most severe kids in the county. We are considered the most restrictive environment. And of course, we want all of our special needs kids to be in the least restrictive environment. So they have to meet a lot of criteria to come to our school. They have to have a lot of needs. So for example, we have on staff physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, vision impaired teacher consultant like Cynthia. We have a hearing impaired teacher consultant. We have a therapy pool. We have so much housed in one building where all these local schools, they wouldn't have the money to provide services like we can in a center. So that's kind of what the purpose is of having a center. Our mission is to extend educational opportunities to all learners by complementing and enhancing the efforts of what the local school districts are doing. So we're basically just there to support them. So since most of my 23 years has been in a center-based program, the majority of that time has been with students considered they're labeled SXI, which is severely multiply impaired. So even among special ed students, this is a tiny portion of the students that are out there that are like this. So unless you have a family member or you've worked in a school like this, you tend to not even know these students or know they're in school. It's a very small portion. For example, our school only has 3 classrooms that are considered SXI. And our school goes from age 3 years old to 26. I think we might even be the only school in the United States that goes to 26 years old, but the students, they can stay at our school till they're 26. So that's great. It really helps the families. Once the students graduate, there's not a lot of services out there. So the families really do rely on the school system to help them care for their children, to give them a break, and to work on educating them and getting them all their therapies every day. And I worked in all 3 of these different SXI rooms through the years. So I have worked with the students 3 to 26. I find that every now and then I just needed a change and would kind of change to a different age group. The drawback of having students that are this severe and in such a small group, so if they're going from 3 to 26, you have one classroom that's like 3 years old to 11 or 12, one's 12 to 18, one's like 18 to 26. So if you're in a classroom and you have a student from 3, you have them till they're 12 years old. That is a long time. Even if you really like the student and you really like the family, that is a long time. And you're working on such basic functional skills, and it takes a long time to see progress, that sometimes you just get burned out and you're like, I've run out of ideas. I need to do something fresh and new. I have tried other classrooms at our school. So being a center-based program, we're not just SXI, these severely multiply impaired children. We do have, we have an emotionally impaired program. So it's very similar. These are students that have severe emotional impairments. They are unable to function in their local district. So they need to come to our school to get that intense behavior therapy, have the staff ratio so, high. For example, in most of the classrooms, there's 1 teacher and 2 to 3 parapros. And students range, I would say, 6 to 8 students. It really depends on their needs. So we try to have it where there's 1 staff per 2 students if we can. I like it that way. I prefer it that way. I like to work with these small groups. I have to hand it to regular ed teachers that can handle 30 or 35 kids because I couldn't do it. I need my small group and I need my paras, and I like to function that way. That's just kind of how it works for me. Let me check my notes. So, okay, so a lot of people ask me, how did you wind up doing SXI, since not many people know about it? And really, it was by chance. Or if you believe in God, I think it was a God thing. I was going into education in the early 90s, late 80s, and at the time the market was flooded with special ed teachers, or I'm sorry, regular ed teachers. So to get a job in Michigan, it was really, really hard to do, especially like in elementary education, which is what I was looking at going into. So it was suggested to me, well, go get a special ed degree with your regular ed or an endorsement. Then you can go get into a public school building, teach special ed, wait for a regular ed opening, and now you just move into that one, and now you're in regular ed. So that was my plan. I went to college and was doing the special ed endorsement and all of that. Well, one of my student teachings, I was placed at Lincoln Development Center. And that kind of changed everything. But what was really sad is when I got placed there, I had a lot of college students telling me not to go. They said, you have to get out of this placement. These students, they don't walk, they don't talk. You are going to be changing diapers all day. You're not going to be working on any academic skills, so you're not going to get to chance, you're not going to be able to practice teaching so that when you actually graduate, you can go out and teach. And that really scared me. I've never worked with severely impaired students before. I've never been to a school like that before, but I decided to give it a try. Plus, I don't know, I just didn't feel it was right to make that decision about what students could and couldn't learn without even seeing them. And it's kind of unfortunate, I think, that some people in the education program at that time felt that way about it. I went there and I absolutely loved it. I was scared, of course, going in. There's equipment in the hallway that you don't know what it's for. Some of it looks like torture equipment where kids are strapped in it to stand up, and it was very intimidating to walk in and see that stuff. And it was intimidating to see the students. I had never been with students that couldn't talk or walk. I didn't know what to do. Definitely out of my comfort zone, but I think it was one of those things where you fake it till you make it. You just go in, you put a smile on your face, and you're like, okay, I'm here. What do you need me to help with? But when I graduated from college, I specifically looked for an SXI job, which, like I said, they're very minimal, and it was fun going to these teacher recruiting sessions or whatever that the colleges would have, and I would go up to them and say, hey, you got an SXI job, and they just were shocked that somebody was actually specifically looking for that. But anyways, so through that whole experience at Lincoln, I ended up looking for SXI, and that was my first job out of college. And I did that for 4 years, and I really liked it. Ended up getting my master's in early childhood education, because at the time I thought, well, I really think I want to work with the early childhood kids. It used to be called PPI, which was pre-primary impaired. Now they call it early childhood special ed. So I did leave SXI for a while and worked with some of the little itty bitties, but it really wasn't my passion. It was kind of sad. I got my master's degree in it, and it was not my passion. So I went back to the center-based programs in SXI again. And I have tried a few other rooms at the school because we do have some severe autistic rooms and some severe, like not SXI rooms, but the kids are still like, they're like moderately cognitively impaired, it's classified as. So so there are other rooms and I've tried them. I'll last like a year and I end up going back to SXI. I keep thinking I'm going to find something that maybe I would like better, but I never do. So that's kind of how I wound up into the SXI field. Now, Cynthia, will people ask questions on here?
Yes, if you allow them, if you allow them for them to, ask questions, that will be okay.
Okay, I'll probably check them at the end just because it'll be hard to kind of read them, but I just wanted to let everybody know if anything comes up and you have a question, please ask me.
Okay. Michelle,
okay,
I have a question. So I know you provided us with a PowerPoint. Do you want me to share that PowerPoint as you're speaking right now?
No, I'll just get to it at the end, and
Okay.
because it's really just basically pictures of the students doing stuff that I'm going to kind of talk about here.
Okay.
But it will help give people a visual that have never worked with students with severe disabilities.
All right.
So no, I'll let you know.
All right, no problem.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I forgot April had a question. Did you have a question for Michelle, April?
No, maybe somebody else did. But
okay.
That was me. That was Tika. I was trying to see what what's the name of the school? Guess I didn't get that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's called Hillside Learning and Behavior Center.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. I might not have mentioned it. So yeah, you could feel free to look that up online too. There's pictures on there. We have a Facebook page, and so yeah, you could gather information if you wanted to check out their website as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So with all that being said, the students are functioning at a level where we really are not working on academics. We're working mainly on functional skills. Toilet training, the students feeding themselves, the students learning to walk, grasping objects, using communication devices. We have all kinds of communication devices because it just depends on where the student is cognitively, and if they're visually impaired, then of course they're going to have a different communication system than someone who's hearing impaired. And so it just kind of runs the gamut, I guess, as far as communication systems, from simple switches that one might say yes and one might say no, to using picture symbols, to using eye gaze machines, so the students just can look at the different pictures and it will say those words. So technology is a huge part of our job, and fortunately we have technology specialists and people in those fields know exactly how to do that. So as a classroom teacher, you're not responsible for trying to figure out all of that stuff. Fortunately, we have lots and lots of help. Same with doing like all the occupational therapy, physical therapy. There are people there and they teach you what to do. And that is a lot of our day, because if the students are pulled to see a therapist for 30 minutes once a week, they're never going to get anywhere. 30 minutes once a week is just not enough time to work on whatever skill that they need to be working on. So, so the therapists come in and train the teachers on what to do, and the parapros too. So when you walk in a classroom, the teacher and the paras are kind of all doing the same, the same thing. But we try to hit whatever goals the therapists are working on at least once a day, depending on what the goal is. I mean, if it's walking, then we are going to get them in walking equipment and do that at least 3 or 4 times a day. So it depends on what the goal is. So if you're working in a center-based program, yeah, you're not really spending a lot of time teaching academics, even though we do, we do like a morning group and we talk about calendar and we read books, and you touch on math, and we do cooking and art and science. I mean, we're kind of doing everything that you would see in a typical schoolroom. but our focus is different. So if we're doing a cooking project, we want to tie in all 5 senses for the students because they need as much input as they can to learn about their environment and what they're doing. But doing a cooking project, I'm not really expecting them to learn to cook. It might be that they're participating appropriately. They're not throwing things on the floor, or they're not, you know, yelling because something's bothering them, or they can have students near them, or it's taking turns. Or there's just so many things that we're working on when we're doing a cooking project that really doesn't have much to do with the cooking project other than it's sensory. So along with that, our students are, the SXI students I'm talking about are considered participation level students. So that is like the lowest functioning level. There's one above them called supported independence. There's a functional independence, but this is participation level, which means we are just expecting them to participate in activities as much as they can and learn as much as they can, but we realize they're functioning cognitively probably about a 1-year-old level, scattered skills maybe in a 2-year-old, 3-year-old level. So we're talking really, really cognitively low students. In addition to that, they have a lot of medical problems or issues. A lot of students will have seizure disorders, so you'll learn which students have those and be trained on how to handle seizures. I have students with like a magnet implant into their chest, and we have to run a magnet across it if they're having a seizure, and it interrupts their seizure. So when you're working in a classroom like this, and I think this is what I like about it, and maybe this is what would scare some people away, but every day is different. You are on your feet, you're busy all day long, and you're doing, you know, all these different therapies, the speech and the PT and the LT, and you're getting the kids moving, and you're kind of fill the nurse's role too, although our school does have a full-time nurse. So all these center-based programs, it's another advantage of them. All the other public schools can't provide a nurse for every building, but our school can have a full-time nurse. So, but for me, that's what I enjoy. I enjoy being busy, I enjoy being on my feet, and doing all different kinds of different therapies throughout the day. So yeah, I'm not teaching, you know, math and English and science, and I guess what I pictured I would be doing when I was in college, but I'm still teaching. It's you know, it didn't have to be those things. I'm happy teaching what I'm teaching, so it didn't have to be those. So keep that in mind too. And as well as all the therapies, we do have an adaptive PE teacher and a music therapist, and like I mentioned, we have our therapy pool. So when the students participate in any of those activities, all the staff goes and helps, because we cannot send 6 students in wheelchairs for the PE teacher to try to work with. So all staff are going, and we're helping the student participate in the activities that the phys ed teacher has planned. So there's not any downtime like you think of in the public schools where, oh, I can send my kids to gym, or I can send them to music, and nope, you're part of that all day long. But again, those are the things that I like. I like to be that busy all day long. So and we do field trips too before COVID. That was a big part, especially of our older students, like 18 to 26, is getting out in the community, being able to go out to eat at a restaurant, being able to go to the store. Not that we expect them to shop by themselves, but we've had students that the parents never could go out to eat because their child would not act appropriately in a restaurant. So we would take this child and go into a restaurant and just try things over and over and over and reinforce them for the good behaviors. And I mean, I've seen the parents, when finally they could go out to eat with their student, I mean, that's a huge thing. We take that stuff for granted, but for these families, or to ever take their child to the grocery store, I mean, you try to find a babysitter every time you have to go to the grocery store, or someone to watch your special needs child. And so now for that family to be able to do that, it's huge. It's life-changing for them. So yeah, so pre-COVID, we were able to get out and do a lot of that, and hopefully we can get out soon again and work on those things. And we do the fun field trips too. I think I have some pictures in when we get to the slideshow, but you know, we take the kids bowling, and they have adaptive ramps that they can just put the bowling ball on, and all they have to do is push it and it goes down the ramp. everything we do, there's adaptions. It's when we do our individualized education plans, our IEPs, there's a section on there saying what adaptions does this student need to participate? Well, for our students, everything is an adaption. So we try to be real general, like they'll have access to switches, or they, will be using different equipment throughout the day. I mean, because all day, every day, everything we do is an adaption. So let me see if there's anything else. Oh, our school district too is mainly rural and lower socioeconomic status. So we're mainly farmland out this way, small towns, very spread out. But the students, even though they're 3 to 26, but even a lot of the students that are in their 20s still live at home with their families. I don't know if this is the case in all school systems or if it's just because we're a smaller rural community, I'm not sure. But a lot of the families, when I talk to them about where's their child going to go when they're graduated out of our school at 26, they age out. A lot of them say they're going to stay with me until I can't take care of them anymore. So the families plan on them staying home. Now, some of these kids get too big, too heavy, too much work, and have to go to a group home. But generally, the families find a group home near their house so they can go see their child whenever they want to. Some of the students in our school are in foster care, and so we're working with foster families. So it just varies, but most of them are at home with their families, which is really, I think, the best. The families are going to get them the best care generally. Although, you do get into some protective services issues, and that would be a whole nother story. But be aware when you're in education, you are a mandatory reporter. So no matter what school setting you're working in, if you suspect anything or know anything, you would have to go to your principal and be a mandatory reporter on those issues. Hopefully you never have to do that, but just wanted to be aware of that as well. And our classrooms are set up, especially these SXI classrooms, are very empty. Because of all the wheelchairs and the equipment, there's no room for desks or tables, and their wheelchairs have trays on them that we can use like a desk, and most of the equipment they go in have trays. So when you walk into an SXI room, they're very open, just so we can be bringing equipment in and out and wheelchairs in and out. Okay, yeah, if you want to bring up those slides, and then I'll just tell you when to click through them, and I'll just explain those.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with all of you so I can share that content. So just 1 second here. All right, Michelle, so I'm sharing it.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, so these pictures I'm going to show you are just some basic pictures showing students and equipment, some of the communication devices we use, and some of the kind of daily activities and things that the students participate in. So you can go to the next slide. So this is Ethan, and he's in 2 different pieces of equipment. The first picture is him in a walker. So he can support a lot of his own weight on his feet. So he can use his walker and get around. Ethan cannot see, he's completely blind. So we have to be by him at all times, just to keep him from running into things. But when he's in the wheeled stander, which is the picture on the right of him in the wheeled stander, he loves to wheel that and run into things. He thinks it's hilarious. So he's a ham, but that just shows a couple of the pieces of equipment that we get students in. So you can go to the next slide. All right, so here's a couple other students. Caitlin on the left, she's in a standing frame, and these are the types of things when you walk into the school and you see it and you think, oh my gosh, what do they do with these? So, but for the student, now Caitlin, she can't bear any weight. So she can't do like a walker, that kind of stuff. Or the student that's next to her in this picture, Malachi, he's in what we call a gait trainer. So a gait trainer has a saddle that he can sit on, so it's supporting some of his weight, but he's able to kind of move his feet, get that feeling of walking. We're trying to get him to the point where he can walk, but right now this is kind of where he's at. His arms are strapped in because that's kind of helping him support his upper body. He also has like the chest side supports in, helping hold him up. There's kind of a strap hanging on the front of it. You can see often what we do is the staff just grabs that and kind of slowly pulls him forward. So we're kind of giving him that motion, giving him the chance to move his feet back and forth. So that is one of the ways we're working with the students on teaching them to walk. Now, Caitlin, oh, let me go back. Caitlin, since she can't walk, she will never have the skills to walk. It's just due to the nature of her disability. But getting her in this position is so good for her. Sitting down and laying down all the time is very hard on the body. You think of all your systems. And so for her to be standing up, and she is bearing some weight on her feet and through her legs, but a lot of it is, you know, she's being supported. So anyways, you can go to the next picture. All right, so we have a lot of different adaptive chairs. I just grabbed a picture of 3 of them. So the students throughout the day, we do not want them staying in their wheelchairs. So as soon as they come in the morning, we have either get them in a standing frame or a gait trainer, or we have a different chair that they can sit in. And the 2 chairs on the right, we're able to put a tray on those for the students. So just different things you'll see in the school. You know, next one. Oh, swings. Yeah, that's another thing. We have lots of swings. I just grabbed a picture of 3. Generally, like the one in the middle has straps, so it depends on what the student needs to be supported with to stay in the swing. And the one on the right, it's a canvas swing, and we do have straps often that we'll put around the waist of the students. So they're just like a Velcro strap to keep them safe. But some students that have use of their legs, they love to get in the swing and make it spin or get it going as high as they can. So it's a really good sensory thing for the students and another position for them to get in throughout the day, so they're not, again, either in their chair or another seated position. Go to the next one. Adapted bikes. Okay, these are a riot. So we have a lot of different adaptive bikes. So for students that can pedal, we strap their feet in. There's straps around their waist to keep them safe in their chair. So the picture on the left, Ethan can pedal on his own. We have to be with him again, so he's not running into walls and stuff. But he just loves that motion and that pedaling. And the other bike, the 2-seater bike, that one we use a lot for students that can't pedal a bike, but we still want them to have that kind of fun and going down the hallway really fast. So a staff person sits in the other seat and we ride it in the hallway. And you can see there's in our hallway, this one that we do a lot with these students is not carpeted because it's really hard to move all these gait trainers and anything with wheels on carpet. So it's just a hard floor surface, which makes it easier for the students. You know, the next picture. Okay, Hoyer lift. So our students that are over 50 to 60 pounds, we tend to use a lift with. We can do 2 people lift, which isn't bad, but when you're lifting all the time, you don't obviously want to hurt your back. So this lift, it has like a sling that goes underneath the student, and then we hook the student up to this lift and it brings them out of their wheelchair. So we do that when we're putting them in certain equipment. We do that behind this curtain is what we call a mat table. The students can lay on that to have another position. We can lay them on their side. They can lay on their stomach on like a wedge. And that's also often for our students that do wear briefs and are not toilet trained. We'll often put them on these mat tables, and that's where we change them. You can go to the next picture. Okay, so switches, I was talking about these. All those different switches that you see, there's a 2-sided switch, there's one that has 3 different buttons, there's one that has just 1 button. These are just 3 of, I don't even know how many different kinds we have. But these switches, we can record whatever we want. So let's take the two-sided switch at the top. I could put on one side yes and on the other side no. Then I could ask the student a question and hand it to them, and they could answer me yes or no. Often I would have a picture with it as well, indicating yes or no, so they can visually see it. But they can use these two-sided switches for anything. If we're doing an art project, they can, you can put two different choices of color of paper or paint, and anything that the students can participate in, we don't want them to do that. We don't want to be making all those choices for them throughout the day. And there are a lot of things they can make choices on. They can make choices on what they want for lunch. If they're eating something, we can put on their drink, eat, so they can tell us when they want to drink, and they can tell us when they want something to eat. And then there's a 3-choice switch there. Obviously, that's just giving them more options. The one button switch there, that is actually called a step-by-step. And so we can record like 10 different messages on there. You hold it down, you say a message, you let go, and then you hold it down again and say a message and let go. So you can have a series of short messages. And I use that one a lot, like for counting. If I want the students to work on counting to 10, they can push it once and it'll say 1, they push it again, it'll say 2. So I can use it for some academics. But you can also put conversations on there, you can put jokes on there. There's a lot of different ways you can use these types of switches. And the other picture is showing a switch that's on an arm. So we have these bendable arms that we can hook on tables or chairs and get them wherever the students need them. Some of the students can't use their hands or their arms very well, and we have to put the switch down by their foot. Or they have to use their head to activate the switch if they can turn their head a little bit. So these arms are really nice for placing the switch wherever we need them. And then that control box is called an environmental control switch. And we have that CD radio player thing plugged into it. What that environmental control switch does, it makes everything switch activated. So I can plug a fan into that, and the student can push the switch, and then it'll make the fan go as long as he's pushing the switch. Or he can make the CD player go. If we're doing a cooking project, I will hook the blender up to it so the students can activate the blender. That's another way they can participate in the cooking project. I put the hair dryer up to it before if we're doing any projects with a hair dryer. So really just anything can be plugged into that and made switch activated. So that's one thing that we use quite often. You go to the next slide. Okay, just something fun. So the students, we do play games as well. That's part of the turn taking and participating in activities. But here's a couple different ways, since they can't hold dice or roll dice. There's the spinner, so they just have to push the switch, that yellow button, and then it will randomly, the dial will go around and pick a number. Or the other one that has the switch and the dice in the little plastic container, that they push that switch, and then that container vibrates and makes the dice go. So as soon as they take their hand off the switch, then whatever number they have is what they have. So just again, more adaptive type stuff that we use at school. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is just some field trips. I see Logan down there with one of our parapros. He's on a roller coaster at the fair. We have our Allegan County Fair, which is a big deal in Allegan County. And we go there every year. They have like a free ride day, they call it, for special needs students and young adults. And so we all go there, and it's awesome. The people running the rides are very helpful and very patient at helping us get kids on and off the rides. But most of the time, the parents cannot take their child to a fair and be able to do the stuff that we can do, because we have all these staff that are going to do it. And the parents can come with us too if they want. But it's just a really fun thing for the students to do and just be out there doing what other kids are doing. And then Ethan's there feeding a goat. Of course, we go to the zoo and petting bars and that kind of stuff. And then the other one is Ashley. Her and I were bowling, and she does Special Olympics bowling. And like I said, they have a ramp for students to use if they're not able to pick up the ball and roll it. So those are some fun field trip pictures. Go to the next one. Okay, we do, of course, dances and parties. DJ there, him and I are like doing some dress up stuff and some photo booth pictures. And so we try to do dances like for Valentine's Day. We'll usually do like a Halloween dance, Halloween party dance, and we just get together in our cafeteria area. Caitlin over there, the kids usually dress up for Halloween, and she's Cookie Monster, of course. And So we're really doing basically the same things that all the schools are doing and just having the kids participate and have fun. So the next one. Okay, this is Ethan doing our music therapy. So he loves the guitar, and then over there he's got like a drum. So the music therapist comes to our classroom. We're not trying to move all the students to another room. So she comes with this big cart with all these instruments and plans the activity, and the staff helps the students participate in it. So you go to the next slide. And we have a sensory room, so those like little cord lights coming down, that's Ethan. We have a whole room with all different sensory stuff in it. We try to go twice a week. And yeah, the students love it. There's swings in there, there's light up stuff in there, there's like bubble tubes, there's things on the walls that they can feel. So that's our sensory room. And then the other picture is showing him in our therapy pool. The students all love the therapy pool, and Ethan's a ham, of course, and he likes to splash staff, and he thinks that's hilarious. So, so yeah, the pool is great for working on range of motion. The water temperature is kept at like 93 degrees at all times. It's really, really warm, but that allows the students' muscles to relax, and we can really get a good stretch on their arms and legs in the pool. Do the next one. Yeah, and that's it. So I just kind of put one of my favorite quotes on here that all kids need is a little help, a little hope, and somebody who believes in them. And thank you very much. And let me know if there's any questions.
All right, you guys, it's your opportunity to ask questions to further learn about center-based programs, and then also to gather more notes for your reflection. Go ahead, Tika.
Does any of the equipment you use and the therapies you use increase or change their cognitive or physical, what am I trying to say? Does it
Ability?
Yeah. Does any of it, like, do you see improvement in some of the students, or is a lot of this permanent?
Both. It depends on the student. The younger ones, when we're working with them from like 3 to 11 years old, that's where we tend to see the most growth. So, but I have worked with many students that came to us unable to walk, and we were pretty sure they were not ever going to be able to walk. But by getting them in this equipment and doing this day after day after day, and it's, you know, it may start with a standing frame where they're not expected to walk, they're just getting some weight into their legs and they're building some muscle. But eventually going through the equipment and getting physical therapy and us working with them, we've had a lot of students learn to walk. We've had students that we've been able to toilet train, which can be hard if you're, you know, dealing with a student that's functioning at a 1-2 year level. It can be hard, but oh my gosh, you know, and it might take you 3 or 4 years, but how nice for the family to have their, you know, child now toilet trained, and they don't have to deal with that anymore. So they seem, I guess, like simple stuff to us, the learning to walk, but oh my gosh, when you're there and you accomplish that, that is like the best. Everybody's excited. The whole school celebrates, you know, these kind of things, because it's just so exciting. So yeah, but some, you know, they're so medically fragile that no matter what we do, we're just not going to get anywhere. So we're, as far as, you know, their physical ability, we still try, you know, whatever we can. I mean, we never give up. We still, you know, try switches with them so that they can participate in things. We have like a big clever board, it's called. It's like a big TV screen, but they can touch it. And so we can put just cause and effect things on there. So even if it's a student that really can't do much, but if they can go and do something that's entertaining to them, and they can have some impact on their environment, whether it's just touching a screen or having an iPad and they just touch it and it plays music, or a xylophone or a drum kit, or, you know, anything like that. So we're kind of looking at quality of life. That is a big part of it for a lot of our students, is quality of life, and what can we do to help them be as independent as possible at home and in the community. That's the main focus of the school.
Okay, very good. Thank you. My hat is off to you guys. I think you do a remarkable job. I mean, it takes a lot of patience and love and passion and all of that to be able to do the job that you all do. So thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. Like I said, we love it. But I think it's something you either really, really like or you don't. I always suggest to people, if you don't know, hopefully you guys at some point can get a chance to go visit a center-based program. It's nice to visit. If you really want to go a step further and sign up to substitute, they need parapro subs and teacher subs. But it's a great place to sub because you're never left by yourself.
Okay.
So you might think, oh my God, there's no way I can go into this classroom. I'm not going to know what to do. But there's always other staff there. You're never left alone. So whether you're subbing for a teacher or a parapro, there's going to be at least 2 other staff in there, and basically you're just kind of helping them.
Mm-hmm.
But subbing in a center-based school, then you can try all the different rooms, because like I said, there's other classrooms besides this. Kids are walking and talking. They're still pretty low functioning and have a lot of needs, but they're not like what I'm showing you today. So you might sub in one room or visit one room and go, nope, not for me, can't do it, and then go to another room and think, oh, I like this one. And we've seen that with parapros. We've had parapros in one room not work out at all, where we were thinking this is just not going to be a good fit. Move them to another room and then they shine. They're just awesome. So, there's just so much out there. So when you get into your field, wherever you wind up in education, if it's a room that you don't feel is a good fit, you're not happy, this is not what you thought it was going to be, be aware there's so many other options out there. So always keep your eye on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That is great advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else?
What are the school days like, the hours?
They are regular school hours. The students get there at 8:30 and leave at 3. Our school is on a year-round calendar because our students do have such severe needs as far as needing therapy. They can't be off for 3 months in the summer. So our summer programming is we go like 2 weeks in June, 2 in July, and 2 in August. So where the local schools have that whole summer off, we're going at least 6 weeks in the summer. However, we still work the same amount of days. So we get like a week off in February, a week off in October, and a couple in May. So it's just different. And some people really like it and some don't. Other schools, they run a regular school year calendar, and then they provide extra education in the summer for the kids that need it. So it's more expensive to do it that way. I personally I think it's better to do it that way because the kids get to go to school more. Because they get their whole traditional school year, now they get to go in the summer as well. But I think Allegan County, because we are limited on funds, this was one way they were able to get the students what they needed in the summer without having to pay for extra staff and extra busing and extra days. But I know Ottawa Area Center for sure they have extra summer programming. Van Buren County at Burt Goins Learning Center, they have extra summer programs, so the kids are running a regular school calendar, and I don't know what Lincoln does in Kent County. So, but our school's year-round, regular school days, hours.
All right, anyone else? Those are some great questions. Anyone else, please?
Yes, what are parent relationships like? Some of us are general education teachers, and sometimes our relationships can be tenuous, or what I would imagine though that parents would need to work closer with your teachers in order to meet the needs of their kids outside of school. So what are parent relationships like?
Yeah. Well, it varies. You definitely have those parents that are really involved and sometimes over-involved, where they're just on you all the time, on the therapist all the time. What are you doing with my kid? Are you doing enough? Are you, and you have to kind of course, work around that the best you can. I find that happens most often with the younger kids because the parents, they're just going through this and they don't know what to expect, and they kind of want you to fix their child and make things better and get them to the point where they can go to their local school. And so I find with the younger group, the parents can be more difficult to work with. Or even trying to, once you and the therapist work with the student and you know yourself about where they're going to go, of course you never know 100%, but you have a pretty good idea. It's hard to get the parents sometimes to understand that, and it's hard to present that information to them because it's hard for them to hear that, oh my gosh, my child's functioning at an 8-month level and they're 5 years old. But most of the parents are, they're really good. They're supportive of the school. They're so appreciative of the school and everything that they're doing for their child. I would say your relationship with the parents is probably closer than in a regular ed setting, just because you only have like 6 to 8 students and you have them for so long. I mean, you get to know them. You know them, you know their families, you go to their kids' graduation parties. You just kind of become part of their family because you know them so well. And that's the majority of the time. Yes, you do have some parents that are, never answer their phone, your phone calls. They're not there for their child, or you can tell they're not taking very good care of their child. Their child is not clean or had the same clothes on all week, and maybe not being fed the way they should be, and so of course you have that small percentage too that you have to deal with. And a lot of times when you're in those situations, you're dealing with, you're going to have to get into either protective services, but usually before that you can go to the school social worker, principal. You can start going that route and having the administration help out and get a hold of the family and say, well, what's going on? What can we do to help? We try to do everything we can before we go to like a protective services phone call. That is a last resort. But we do have those parents too that are just non-existent or not helpful. You can ask for things, you'll never get it. You ask for spare clothes or diapers for their child or food and never get it, and you just get that stuff yourself, however that is. And I know public school teachers do the same thing. Everybody does. If the parents aren't going to supply it, you find a way to get it. So it's kind of the same as the regular ed parents, I would say.
Yes, I will agree with
Thank
you. Just to add that to what you just said, it's the same, parental involvement that we see with general education students.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anyone else? Go ahead, Tika.
How do they get their students? How are the students? Are they referred from other organizations? I think you touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but.
Yeah, well, they start out with early on, which is 0 to 3. So when a child is, in the hospital and the doctors know that there's going to be needs and services are going to be needed, then the local school gets involved. So we have an early on program. So we have all the same therapists, the PT, OT, speech, all of them go into the home and work with the child and the family on whatever skills and interventions need to be done. And then once the child turns 3, then they're evaluated to decide where do they need to go, because a lot of times they get early on services that they don't need to come to a center-based program. They can go to their local school district, usually in one of their early childhood special ed programs, and sometimes they just stay at their local school district if their issues are mild enough that the school can handle them, then they just stay there. But if they're, obviously severe enough where the local school is not going to be able to handle their needs, then they will come to us. And it's pretty much a whole panel of people that decide that. It's the early on team with the family, and they decide where the child's going to go. And if the child comes to us, doesn't mean they're going to stay there. We get some that are kind of iffy. We're not sure if they should be there or not, but they seem like they have a lot of needs, or they might have a lot of needs at that time, but we can get them to the point where they're functioning high enough that they can go back to their local district. And that is always our hope, because we want them with regular peers. There's no regular ed peers at our school. So that is the hope, to get them back. So sometimes they do go back. Sometimes they try them in their local district first and find out, nope, we can't, you know, they've just got too many needs, and then they come to us. So it's a team decision, and sometimes we have to change our mind in the middle of the year.
All right, great question. Anyone else? All right, if there's no other questions, then I want to thank you, Michelle, for sharing and taking your time to share your expertise around your experiences with working with students with exceptionalities. This has been a great contribution to the College of Ed, and of course to our candidates here. So we thank you again for that collaboration, for the support, and we appreciate you. Okay, so we look forward in collaborating again in future field experiences.
Right, and I also want to, Michelle, I also want to say thank you so much. You guys, wasn't she great? I mean, you had so much information. I noticed Arnaldo didn't stop you once. He was listening the whole time.
Yes, I was.
So that's great. Listen, you guys, if you have any more questions about Michelle's presentation, you can speak with me. You can speak with Arnaldo. If you're interested in visiting a center at some point in the school year, you can contact either one of us, and we'll try to get you connected if you're interested in doing that as part of your PD, if you have options like that. But anyway, Michelle, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the work and time that you put into helping us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I always love talking about my kids.
I can definitely tell you were smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, well, you guys have a good night. I'm gonna try to get out of here.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, you guys, again for the collaboration. Great questions. So I hope this was helpful. And again, do not forget, I did already uploaded the PowerPoint slides in week 7, and I will upload the recording as well.